Hello, hello, hello. We are live. We are live. It is our scheduled time to talk about divorcing with the home. Come on in, guys. Let's talk. How is everybody doing today? We are live. We scheduled this time to talk about divorcing with the home. As you're coming in, I'll just introduce myself. I am Jalon Strong. I am a realtor, a pharmacist, a millennial, and a homeowner. I am the owner of Dreams to Keys Realty, which is a business that I operate and own where I am the realtor of the business. So today we're here to talk about divorcing with the home. Welcome in, come on in. So we're going to talk about divorcing with the home. There is a poll question. I'm not sure if you guys can see it, but make sure you answer the poll question as you're coming in. And let's get started. So as I mentioned, I am a realtor and I do own and operate Dreams to Keys Realty. Here in Georgia, I'm a licensed Georgia realtor, and so I just wanted to talk to those that are in the thick of divorce, considering divorce, or have finally divorced, and just, get some information out there and hear from you all about what that's like and how divorcing with a home can go. So one thing I'll start off with is that as someone who has gone through my own divorce, it's not easy. It's not easy. It's not ideal. And a lot of people assume that if you file for divorce that you're quitting, you've given up, all of these things. And I just want to encourage you that sometimes we just match wrong. We match with the wrong people. And it's fine to acknowledge that and then make a corrective action. So depending upon your beliefs or where you are, that can seem hard, but be encouraged that people divorce and remarry, they divorce and they find themselves in their correct positioning. Sometimes we marry people that are just seasonal. They weren't meant to be lifelong partners for us. So sometimes we have to make that correction, and it can be stressful. Divorce is not something that's easy. I think a lot of people that haven't gone through divorce kind of equate it like quitting, or they equate it like, you took the easy way out. And if you've ever been through a divorce, it is not easy. There is nothing easy about it. And so for people to say that, I think that most of those people would be people that haven't had that experience. So if you've been through divorce, contemplating divorce, and you are wondering about what you should do with your property that you currently have, or should you buy another property, you need to come on in the room and let's talk. So see if you can see the poll question. I want to see if you guys are able to see that. Let me know. But if you are considering divorce, put a 1 in the chat so I can know kind of who I'm engaging with. Put a 1 in the chat. If you are in the divorce process right now, put a 2 in the chat. If you are your divorce is final, put a 3 in the chat. And if you have happily remarried after a divorce, put a 4 in the chat. So I can kind of gauge who I'm talking to and kind of, give information around my audience. All right. So once again, as you're coming in, I am Jalon Strong. I am the realtor of Dreams to Keys Realty in Georgia. So I'm a licensed realtor in Georgia. And I am also a pharmacist, a millennial, a divorcee, and a homeowner. So I bring all those perspectives to my platform, social media pages. So if you would go to my page and follow and make sure that you stay connected with me, there is a link in the bio of my page where you can get connected with lenders. You can get connected with different ebooks that I have available, as well as Amazon links. So there's different connections that you can find through that link. I think a lot of people find the lender connection the best. I've seen a lot of traction there. So if you're interested in buying a home, you want to find a lender. I know a lot of people really like the USDA loan video. So if you were interested in that lender is a USDA approved lender. So make sure that you click the link in the bio so that you can get connected to all of the things that are related to my platform and the connections and affiliations that I have. Also, I am available on YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook. So you can also find that when you click the link at the very top, there are those different icons, so you can find those links and follow me there as well. Okay? So let's just talk a little bit about, just for a second, how you can get in contact with me. Let's say that you're interested in using my services to buy or sell a home. When you click that link in the bio, there is an option that says book a time with me, and that will set you up with getting a consultation time with me. It will put you into my calendar to see what options are available. I will be opening the September calendar by no later than August 15th. So when cancellations happen, there can be openings before that time, but the September calendar I will open no later than August 15th, so you heard it here first. So if you're interested in buying a home, whether you're in Georgia or not, I also make referrals to other agents and of course lenders that I have do nationwide deals. So make sure that you schedule a consultation so that we can get connected. All right, so if you're coming on, we're talking about divorcing with the home. So there's a lot that you want to consider when you think about divorcing with the home. If you are not in the divorce process already, this could be most beneficial for you because this could be an eye-opener or help you to position yourself when you are ready to make that decision. Now, I'm gonna put this disclaimer out. I am not promoting that you get divorced. To be frank, we don't know each other. I don't know you. I don't know your situation. I'm not your partner. That's a situation that you have to make the decision for yourself. You have to make the call for yourself if divorce is right for you. That's not a call that a stranger can make for you. That's something that you or your spouse or partner have to make. So I encourage you, if your marriage is rocky, to do everything you can to save it. Do everything you can to stay together. If for whatever reason you feel like it's just too toxic, it's dangerous, or what have you, and you must divorce, I encourage you to do so at that point. So it's all in what's best for you, and only you know when it's time. So just be aware that I'm not promoting that anyone get divorced, but I am promoting that you do what's best for you. All right? So in the divorce process, if you have a home, let's say that you bought a home before you got married. So you didn't buy it with your spouse because they weren't your spouse at that time, right? So you bought a home as a single person. You're the only one on that mortgage deed and title. And then you decided to get married later on down the line. All right. So at that point, you, depending upon the laws and everything in your state, it's pretty much that's your home essentially. But what can come into play is the mortgage payments. So if your spouse is now contributing to the mortgage payments after you get married, then there becomes some type of question on if there's some money that they can recoup from that. So if you have not filed for divorce and you're thinking about divorcing and your spouse is contributing to the mortgage payments, just be aware that there could be some money that could be coming into play based on the amount of payments they make and how long they've made them. Okay, so just be aware it's dependent upon the states, it's dependent upon when the house was purchased, who purchased the house, and all of those things. Also, one thing that could affect that as well is if you've refinanced. So say you refinance prior to your divorce, there is a way that the system kind of calculates the worth of the home. And if you recently refinanced, that diminishes that number. So attorneys know the number, the equation that I'm speaking of, but refinancing also impacts that calculation for your spouse. How do I know this? I've experienced this. So as I introduce myself, I am a realtor, pharmacist, millennial, divorcee, and a homeowner. So those perspectives are what I'm bringing to this live today and what I bring to my platform on a daily basis. All right, so keep those things in mind if you're considering divorcing. It depends on who bought the property, when the property was bought, who's making the monthly payments, and then also was the property refinanced and when. So those are things that could impact what your divorce could look like related to the property. So that's if you bought a property before you got married. Now, if you buy a property together in marriage and you both are on everything, it's considered a marital property, right? So that could be a different scenario depending on how the divorce process goes. So that could be a scenario where the property needs to be sold. In that case, you may need to contact a realtor to help get the property sold. There may be some time constraints, or the court may give certain time frames of when that needs to happen. So, that may be a time to contact a realtor such as myself and say, I need to sell this home, or we need to sell this home in our divorce process. What you want to do is make sure that when you're in divorce, that you get clearance for everything you're doing when it comes to changing ownerships or properties of anything. So a lot of times the attorneys will come to you and say, we're in the divorce process, don't buy anything, don't sell anything right now, because those things can impact your side of the process. It can impact what you may have to either sacrifice, give up in the process, or it may show to the court that you're trying to hide something if you're buying and selling something when the divorce process has started. So be cautious about what you do with any type of property when you're in divorce, because it could give a red flag to the system. To even if you go to trial and see a judge, it could kind of be like a red flag, like why are they selling things all of a sudden, Also, when you are thinking about divorce, like I said before, make sure that you do everything to save your marriage. Before you file for divorce, if you're the one that's filing, make sure that you said, okay, I've tried this, I've tried that, I don't know what else to try. You know what I'm saying? Make sure that you're at a place of peace where you can say, I've tried everything. I've prayed. I've gone to coaching. I've gone to counseling. We have gone to counseling. I've meditated. I've tried to listen more. You try everything that you can to save your marriage. And then, if there's nothing else that can be tried, divorce may be an option. But that is a decision only you can make, right? So all right. So, and then once you decide, hey, I really want to pursue this divorce now, I don't think there's anything else I can try. I would suggest, of course, at this point, you should have already talked to your spouse. Your spouse shouldn't be blindsided by divorce. Your spouse should know, like, I'm unhappy. In my opinion, your spouse should know, that I'm unhappy and that, I want to work on this, I want to fix this. And both of you have to be willing. You're only one half of your marriage, right? So if both parties are not willing to work on it, it's kind of a bad thing. I'm sorry, Levi, that you are blindsided, or you're blindsiding someone. I'm sorry. Ooh. So your spouse shouldn't be blindsided. If you're really committed to working on the marriage, communicate. That's a big part of marriage, communication. So be upfront and honest with your spouse about what you're feeling, what you're thinking, because that's how it can be worked on. You have to communicate what's going on. And once you do, then there's the possibility of it being corrected. But if you're not communicating what's going on and you're just internalizing your feelings and doing whatever, you're not having that unity in the marriage. So do everything you can to fight for your marriage. But if you feel like there's nothing left there and divorce is the option for you, I would recommend that you interview divorce attorneys. And one of the points that you should ask is about motions and documents. So One of the big things in the divorce process is that when there's something that needs to be provided from one party, and let's say it's a time frame on it. Depending on your state, there's different time frames of when certain things need responses. It could be 30 days, it could be 30 business days, it could be, whatever. It depends on your state and the type of request, right? So ask your attorneys that you're interviewing how they go about the motion process, because what you don't want is that your attorney lets something slide that impacts you negatively, especially if it's going to cost you more money. Divorce is not a cheap process. Especially if it's a contested divorce, it's not a cheap process. So be upfront with your attorneys that you're interviewing and tell them, hey, I want to make sure, for me at least, I want to make sure that when there's a motion that needs to be filed, that you're on top of it. If the other party is not providing the information in the proper time frame, I want the motion pushed. I want the motion submitted, to push this along. I don't want to have a divorce that's lagging, because there's times when you hear about divorces that lag for so many years. So just be upfront with that, because divorce is expensive. So when people say like that's the easy way out, I'm not sure what they're really talking about, because it's stressful, it's financially draining depending on what you've got going on. It could be emotionally and physically draining. So it's not really the easy way out. It's kind of more challenging, but it's a necessary step if that's where you feel like, your relationship is. All right. So interview attorneys once you get to that point, and choose someone that you feel is confident that will make sure those motions go out in the right time frame. All right. And let them know what's going on when it comes to your property, because the premise of this discussion is about home ownership. Let them know, I bought the property before I was married, for example. And let them know when you refinanced, if that was what you chose to do. Let them know what challenges you've had with the home. Let them know if your spouse was or was not paying. Communicate with your attorney, and an intelligent attorney will be able to tell you, what that means for you, what your current situation means for you, and then what options they would suggest, if there's any, to kind of help in your scenario, or propose to the other side to kind of mediate the divorce process. All right, so there's a lot that goes into that. It depends. So we talked about already who bought the home, when the home was built. There are laws that can affect the division of property, and if it's considered marital property, of course, you have the positioning where it could be sold. So that's a situation where you would want to contact a realtor and get someone to help sell the home, especially if it's within a certain time frame where it needs to be divided or sold. That's something that you can contact a realtor for. And then there are different laws in the different states about, how things are broken down. And I kind of spoke about that, especially if both spouses are contributing to the mortgage payment. Now, if you have a prenup, this could be all addressed in that. So let's say you are you're not quite married yet, you're thinking about getting married, you already have a home, he already has a home, he or she, or they, and you are not sure what it would mean in your state if you decide to get divorced. We kind of think, we have these ideas of what we think divorce will look like, and sometimes the court doesn't agree with your ideas. So sometimes a prenup could help with that. It's not foolproof, I don't think, but it is a way to say we both agreed on this. And so it presents to the court, this was our agreement before we got married, so honor this agreement. So make sure that if you have property before you get married, consider getting a prenup. That may be something to kind of help mediate any concerns you have about property before you get married. And sometimes, as many people will tell you, there's a representative that you may get of a person before marriage that once you're married, it looks totally different. So be aware that you know, even though you're in this blissful state prior to marriage, while you're engaged and all of that, that person could be representing something they don't intend to carry out later. So position yourself in a way that says that, you know, I'll be fine if this dissolves. I don't want this to dissolve, but I'll be fine if it does. All right? So financial strategies. You do want to save money. Like I said, divorce is not for, you know, the weak. It's not a cheap process. Everyone in the process wants, you know, their piece of money. And so you want to have some savings. You may need to tap in that from time to time, especially if you have a contested divorce. So if you're thinking about that may be the route that's best for you, try to save as much as you can so that you can be prepared when you get those invoices from your attorney's office. And sometimes those invoices, the closer you get to trial, the amount gets higher. So trial is pretty expensive. If you have to bring in other parties like a mediator, that could be additional funds. So be aware that divorce is not a cheap process. It will rack up. If it lags on, it's gonna rack up. So make sure that you have some savings to use to kind of position you a bit better. All right. One strategy you can use for savings that I enjoy is a high yield savings account. And I would suggest that whether you're in divorce or not, a high yield savings account is something I use, and it pretty much means that you're getting higher yield. So you're getting some interest on top of the money that you put in that account. And it's high yield because it's more than the traditional savings accounts at banks provide. So I think the traditional savings accounts from banks are like 0.2%, and a high yield, I believe, is about 0.5 or higher. So nowadays you probably can find high yield savings accounts of 2% or more. So that could be a strategy if you say, you know, I am making money, I am saving money, but maybe it's just not quite enough, or I prefer for my money while it's sitting in this account to grow at the best rate it can. A high yield savings account could be an option for you. And that's advice that I receive from financial advisors just in general. So I'm not a financial advisor, but that is information that I think was helpful from the information I received from one. All right. So avoid buying a property in the divorce process unless it is approved by the court. All right. So if you have a contested divorce and you buy a property, what you're risking is that your spouse can say, you know, she bought that property when we are still married. So that's a marital property. So that could make things a little tricky for you, because what you may be thinking is, oh, I filed for divorce, so it's known that I don't want to live with him. It's known that, you know, we're not together, or we won't be together in this home. But what the courts may say is, you guys are still married. This is a marital property. So how are we going to divide this? So try not to buy anything, especially property, while you're still in the divorce process, for risk of it being considered a marital property. And your attorney should guide you along that path to tell you when it's favorable to buy a property. But when I went through my journey with divorce, I was advised not to buy anything. Don't buy anything. So that's the advice that I received. That's the only advice I would like to pass on about that. So make sure that you are not putting yourself at risk to have to have anything, you know, contested more in your divorce process. Divorce is, if you've been in divorce, and give me some feedback in the chat. If you've been through divorce, you know that it is stressful. It is stressful. It is draining. I really don't know what people think is so easy about it when people say that it's for, you quit or you took the easy way out. I really don't know what they are referring to, because it was the most stressful time for me. So just be mindful that everything you do, especially after you file for divorce, and of course, they're going to request documents from you to support everything you're saying or suggesting has happened, right? So if you are saying that you bought a property before the marriage, they're going to ask you for documents to support that you bought that property before the marriage. So like, if your name changed after the marriage, the documents should have your maiden name, right? So be honest, be open, tell them the truth. Tell your attorney the truth. Tell, everyone involved. If you have to sell a property in the divorce, tell the agent the truth. Tell, if you have to buy after divorce, and we'll get into that in just a minute. But tell everyone the truth about your status, because if they find out something that you didn't tell them that is critical, it can make you look as if you're not an honest person, and now the things that you are saying could be questioned. They might second guess everything that you are saying, even if you are telling the truth. So be open to your attorney and be open in the process. It is difficult. So, and let me know, guys, if you want me to do a live at any point about the suggestions or the different strategies that I use to kind of help me get through my divorce, to just, release the stress, minimize stress, or just deal with healing, because it is a healing journey as well. So if that's something you guys are interested in, let me know in the chat. But so be aware that if you buy any property during the divorce, you're still technically married, so it could be considered marital property, and you're putting that property at risk, and you're ultimately putting yourself at risk depending upon where you are in the divorce process and how the state that you're in considers property while you're still technically married. It could be considered marital property, and it could be up for division. All right, so be aware of that. Divorce can take a long time. So if you're in the divorce process and you need to find somewhere else to stay, or you will end up selling that marital property, make sure that your community around you, your family and friends, they are able to maybe provide you somewhere to stay temporarily or whatnot, because divorce can be a long process. It can take much longer, especially, like I said, if that attorney is not putting those motions in appropriately and things are dragging on. That's why you need to interview attorneys, multiple attorneys, and find one that you're comfortable with and that feels to you, use your spirit of discernment, feels to you like they will represent you appropriately. Because when they lag on, it costs you. And sometimes they're just looking at how much, money it could cost, but it costs you in your emotional and spiritual state sometimes. So don't put yourself at risk like that, and just be aware that divorce can take some time. So sometimes we want it to go much faster than it does, and a lot of times it could go much faster. I don't understand why it takes so long sometimes, but make sure that you have an attorney that is pushing to get things done on a timely basis, in a timely manner, right? So I kind of mentioned before about refinancing. So if you speak to your attorney, let's say you're considering divorce and maybe you're even in divorce, there is an impact that refinancing has on that conversation of the property. So if your spouse is contributing to that mortgage payment, there is a calculation that the attorneys or the courts use to see the value of the home, and refinancing has an impact on that value. I do remember hearing of the type of equation, and I can't recall it right now. But if you speak to an attorney and you are in divorce or considering divorce, ask them how refinancing impacts my divorce process. Now, of course, I'm not suggesting that you just go out here and randomly refinance your property. There needs to be a benefit to it, right? You shouldn't just do it because it will impact your divorce process. But if you are having issues with paying your mortgage, or it's creeping up too high, maybe you want to decrease your interest rate, different reasons, ask about that. If they don't know, ask them, is there an equation? Ask them this question: is there an equation that affects or that is used to calculate the worth of a home? And does refinancing affect that equation? I know my answer when it came to my case, but it could be different across different states. So ask your attorney about that up front when you're interviewing them, right? Because if they can't answer basic questions without having all your documents and all that, and paying you to read them, because in the divorce process they pay you, you pay them for you will pay them to read. You pay them to read your emails, and if you have to reiterate something in an email, you're paying again. Depends on, every case is different, every attorney is different, but expect things like that when it comes to divorce. You may have to pay someone to read what you're saying, and if you call them, you pay for that too. So divorce is not a stress-free process. It's quite stressful. It pulls on your finances, it pulls on your emotional and spiritual state. Once again, guys, if you want me to go into what strategies I used to kind of help me with my stress level during my divorce, I'd be happy to do a live and we can talk about that. So that could be something that we do in the future. Let me know if you guys have any questions. Once again, I am Jalon Strong, the realtor of Dreams to Keys Realty. I'm a licensed realtor in Georgia, and I am here to help investors, home buyers, home sellers, wherever you are in the process. Even if you're still working on your credit, I do have ebooks in the link that's in, and you can click that link in the bio and get to those links. So if you don't know about Credit 411 is an ebook that you can use. If you do know about credit but you need some help repairing some things, the DIY Credit Repair Kit is something you can use. Also, I'm working on something else where it can help with financial positioning for people that are about to or in the divorce process. If that's something you're interested in, let me know. Send me an email. You can click the link in the bio and it will send you, there's a little email icon. Send me an email if that's something that you're interested in, or you can talk to me on the consultation time and we can talk about that. Consultations for September will go out. The calendar will open no later than August 15th. So make sure that you watch out for that because they fill up pretty quick. So I thank you guys for all the support here on TikTok because you guys really loved that USDA video and filled up my calendar. So I appreciate all of that. And let's see if there's anything else I missed. So an ideal client. So an ideal client for me is someone who has specific goals of where they want to live, what type of property they want to live in, and how the property will be used. So if you are that type of client, you would be an ideal client for me. Of course, if you're not there yet, we can talk and help you get there, and of course, help you get positioned. If you are ready to talk to a lender, you can click the link in the bio and position yourself to talk to our USDA approved lender who also has other programs. So if you're in Atlanta, Philadelphia, Baltimore, Detroit, Memphis, there is a new program that the lender that I have has put out, and they have down payment assistance with that program. So it doesn't mean that you have to live in those areas, but it can mean that that's where you are now, and that's, you're still looking to buy a home, and you can look, throughout the country as well. So if you guys would just click the link in the bio, give me a follow on TikTok, follow me on YouTube as well. You'll find me at Jalon Strong, Realtor, Dreams to Keys Realty on YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook. You can find those links. If you click the link in the bio, there's icons for all those links in that link, so you can follow me from there. I appreciate everyone's time, and I thank you for joining me, and I will schedule another live soon, so stay connected, hit the follow button, and I'll see you next time. This is where your dreams turn into keys. I hope that you all have a great day.